Daf Yomi Tractate Menachot, page 98b, very top of the page, with the words Dochakin uboltin. Okay, Dochakin uboltin meparoiches v'domin kemin shnei dadi isho shenemar tzoro hamo dodili ben shedayalin. The Gemara, the Brite explains that the staves of the ark pressed against the curtain and bulged outward, and they appeared like two breasts of a woman that are discernible through her clothes. As it is stated, my beloved is to me like a bundle of myrrh that lies between my breasts. Song of Songs 1:13. Since the staves pressed against the curtain, they were evidently placed from east to west. Uminalan, divadav leputya de Aron, havo yatibi. Dilma liargudaran hava yatvi Amar Yehuda Trei Gabri Bamasa Upalga Lo Mistagi Lehu. The Gemara asks, and from where do we derive that the ark's staves were set along the width of the ark? Perhaps they were set along the ark's length, in which case the ark was placed along the length of the temple, not along its width. Yehuda said that this cannot be the case, as the ark was carried by two men on each side, who stood between the staves. If the staves were placed along its length, the two men carrying it on each side will be positioned along the width of the ark, which was 1.5 cubits. This is impossible, as two men standing next to each other in the space of only 1.5 cubits cannot walk. If the staves were placed along the width of the ark, the two bearers on each side will be positioned between the staves along the length of the ark, which was a larger space of 2.5 cubits. Uminalan diarba'a havo darulahu dichtiv nasu hakehatim tre nose hamikdash nami tre. The Gemara asks, and from where do we derive that the ark was carried by 4 men? This is derived from a verse, as it is written with regard to the carrying of the ark by the descendants of Kohath. And the Kohathites would travel, the bearers of the holy ark, that the tabernacle might be set up before their coming. Numbers 10:21. The verse uses the plural form twice. The first phrase, and the Kohathites would travel, indicates that two people bear the ark, and the second phrase, the bearers of the holy ark, also indicates that two people bear the ark. The total is therefore 4 bearers. Tana Rabbanan Asar Shulchanos Asa Shlomo HaMelech Shneemar Vayas Shulchanos Asara Vayanach Behechal Chamisham Yamin Chamisham Yismol. The sages taught King Solomon built 10 additional tables, modeled after the one that Moses crafted, as it is stated in the description of the temple constructed by Solomon. He made also 10 tables and placed them in the sanctuary, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left. 2 Chronicles 4:8. Im Tomar Chamisha miyamin haPesach v'chamisha mismol haPesach. Im ken matzinu sheshulchan b'darom ve'toira omra ve'shulchan titen al tzel hatzafon. And if you say that the terms right and left are referring to the two sides of the entrance of the sanctuary, which was in the center of the eastern wall, this is difficult according to this interpretation. Solomon placed 5 tables to the right of the entrance on the north side and 5 tables to the left of the entrance on the south of the sanctuary. If so, we find that in the case of the 5 tables to the left of the entrance, the table was placed in the south of the sanctuary, but the Torah said, and you shall put the table on the north side. Exodus 26:35. Ela shel Moshe be'emtza b'chamisha mimino b'chamisha mismolo. Rather, the verse means that the table of Moses was placed in the middle of the north section of the sanctuary, while 5 of the Solomon's tables were placed to the right of Moses' table, and the other 5 were placed to the left of Moses' table. All of the tables were in the north of the sanctuary. Tana Rabbanan Esronitis Asa Shlomo Vasa Shlomo Shenemar V'Yasas Menoiras Hazahav Eser Kamishpat V'Yitin Hechal HaChamisham Yamin Chamisham Yismol. Similarly, the sages taught King Solomon built 10 additional candelabra, modeled after the one that Moses crafted, as it is stated, and he made the 10 candelabra of gold according to the ordinance concerning them, and he set them in the sanctuary, 5 on the right and 5 on the left. 2 Chronicles 4:7. And if you say that the terms right and left are referring to the two sides of the entrance of the sanctuary, this is difficult. According to this interpretation, Solomon placed 5 candelabra at the right of the entrance and on the north side, and 5 candelabra to the left of the entrance on the south side. If so, we find that in the case of the 5 candelabras to the right of the entrance, the candelabra was placed in the north of the sanctuary, but the Torah said, and you shall set the table outside the curtain, and the candelabrum opposite the table on the side of the tabernacle toward the south, and you shall put the table on the north side. Exodus 26:35. Rather, the verse means that the candelabrum of Moses was placed in the middle of the south section of the sanctuary, while 5 of the candelabra that Solomon crafted were placed to the right of the candelabrum of Moses, 5 to its left, and in the south, all in the south of the sanctuary. It is taught in one brighter that these tables and candelabra were set inward of the first half of the length of the structure of the temple, as measured from east to west, and it is taught in one brighter that they were set inward of the first third of the length of the structure of the temple. Lokashia Mar Kachashiv Bekadje Kadashi Mahadehechal Mar Lokashiv Bekadje Kadashim Mahadehechal. The Gemara explains that this is not difficult, as the two Braita do not disagree with regard to the location of the tables and candelabra. In the second Braita, the sage is reckoning the length of the hall of the Holy of Holies, which was 20 cubits, together with the length of the sanctuary, which was 40 cubits. In the second Braita, the sage is reckoning the length of the hall of the Holy of Holies, which was 20 cubits, together with the length of the sanctuary, was 40 cubits. 20, 40. Yep. Accordingly, the total length of the structure of the temple was 60 cubits, and the tables and candelabra were set inward of the first third of its length, meaning 20 cubits from the entrance. Conversely, in the first Braita, the sage is not reckoning the length of the hall of the Holy of Holies together with the length of the sanctuary, since he is referring to the 40 cubits of the sanctuary itself. Inward of the first half of the structure of the temple's length means 20 cubits from the entrance. Tanu Abanan Mizrach Umarav Hayumanachin. Tanu Abanan, down. Do. Wow. Tanu Abanan Mizrach Umarav Hayumanachin. Divrei Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Omer. So from the wrong my time over there, Rabbi Gamar Mimenoy, Rabbi Mizrach, Warav Haninami, Mizrach Umarav. The sages sounded bright. All the tables built by Solomon were placed from east to west, meaning their length was along the length of the sanctuary, as was the table in the tabernacle. This is the statement Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, says they are placed from north to south along the width of the sanctuary. The Gemara explains what is the reason of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. He derives this halacha from a comparison of the tables to the candelabrum, just as the candelabrum was placed from east to west. So to the table, these tables are positioned from east to west. The Gemara asks with regard to the candelabra itself, From where do you derive that it was positioned from east to west? This is derived from the fact that it is written with regard to the western lamp of the candelabrum outside the curtain of the testimony in the tent of meeting. Aaron shall set it in order to burn from evening to morning before the Lord continually. Leviticus 24, verse 3. The phrase shall set it in order is written in the singular, referring only to the western lamp. Miklodical love. Lifnei Hashem, Yisrael Safon Vidarom, Kalu Nami. Lifnei Hashem, the Gemara explains, one can infer from the fact that the verse states that the western lamp is set before the Lord, meaning before the Holy of Holies, that the location of all the other lamps of the candelabrum is not considered before the Lord, as they are not situated in the same proximity to the Holy of Holies. This would be the case only if the candelabrum was positioned from east to west. But if it enters your mind to say that the candelabrum was positioned from north to south, then all the other lamps should also be considered before the Lord, as all the lamps are equal distance from the Holy of Holies. But Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon my time, Gamar Me'aron, Mar and Sofer Medarom, Avhani Nami Sofer Medarom, Rabbi Nami Digma Me'aron, Danin Chutz Michutz, Ein Danin Chutz Mibifnim. The Gemara asks, and as for Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, what is the reason for his opinion? The Gemara replies, he derives his halacha from a comparison of the tables to the ark. Just as the ark was placed from north to south, so too these tables were positioned from north to south. The Gemara challenges, but as for Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, let him also derive from the ark that the tables are positioned from north to south. The Gemara explains that according to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the one derives the position of the tables, which are located in the outer area of the sanctuary, from the candelabrum, which is also located in the outer area of the sanctuary, and one does not derive the position of the tables, which are located in the outer area of the sanctuary, from the ark, which is located in the inner area of the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. The Gemara challenges, and as for Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, let him derive from the candelabrum that the tables were positioned from east to west. The Gemara answers that Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, could have said to you, the candelabrum itself was also placed from north to south. The Gemara asks, but isn't it written with regards to the western lamp of the candelabrum? Aaron and his son shall set it in order to burn from evening to morning before the Lord. Exodus 27:21. Indicating that this lamp must be in greater proximity to the Holy of Holies, which is possible only if the candelabrum is positioned from east to west. The Gemara replies that according to Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, the term before the Lord means that the wick of the middle lamp is turned toward the Holy of Holies, as the priest who kindles the lamp turns the wicks of the other lamp slightly to the side, whereas the wick of the middle lamp is turned directly to the Holy of Holies. The Tanya, This is as it is taught in Brighton. The verse states, when you light the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light toward the front of the candelabrum. Numbers 8. Verse 2. This teaches that the priests would turn the front of each lamp toward the middle lamp, but the middle lamp was turned toward the Holy of Holies. Rabbi Natan says one can infer from here that the middle position is preeminent. Okay, very nice. The Gemara discusses the different opinions with regard to the position of the table. The length of each table was 2 cubits. When the 10 tables were placed one alongside the other, their overall length would amount to slightly more than 20 cubits. Granted, according to the one who said that the tables were positioned along the length of the sanctuary from east to west, meaning Rabbi Yehuda, honestly, this is the way that 10 tables resided in an area 20 cubits long. They could extend slightly beyond the 20 cubits, since the entire area was 40 cubits long. But according to the one who said that the tables are positioned along the width of the sanctuary from north to south, Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, how could 10 tables reside in an area that was precisely 20 cubits wide? So Metzinu Chamish Shulchanos Bedarom Shulchan Moshe Heicham Manachle. And moreover, if the 10 tables occupied the entire width of the sanctuary, how would the high priest pass them in order to enter the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur? Moreover, if the tables were positioned in this manner, we find that 5 of the tables were located in the south of the sanctuary, whereas the Torah states that the table must be in the north of the sanctuary. And moreover, if the 10 tables built by Solomon occupy the entire width of the sanctuary, where would one place the table built by Moses? But the Gemara replies, but according to your reasoning, the last question applies according to the one who said that the tables were positioned from east to west as well. Where would one place the table built by Moses? If the 10 tables of Solomon occupy the entire 20 cubits of the inner half of the sanctuary, how could Moses' table be placed in the middle of the 10 tables? Rather, do you maintain that there was only one row of tables? It was not so. They were set in 2 rows, with the table of Moses between the rows. Therefore, there was room for all the tables, and it was also possible for the high priest to pass by them.